Okay, time was a made-up thing which helps serve a purpose now in society. It's understandably, I understand why it was made up. Um, to help instill order within, again, to structure certain things within the day to make order come into being. And I'm not an atheist or a theist, so I just want to clarify that. I'm just a free thinker, just living life, and that's that. I'm not opposed to people's views on deities. I'm not really for any one thing. There's certain figures I'm inspired by, certain practices I'm inspired by, but I don't identify as an atheist or theist. I wouldn't say I'm agnostic. I don't. Those are all just labels. It feels like that once you subscribe to one. It's like subscribing to a channel on YouTube or Twitter, or, somebody's thing. Then the algorithm of life, conscious experience, let's say, to word it in a more organic terminology, takes over, and then you start getting all these these things that kind of line up with your viewpoint. But it's like almost like you're more free if you're not lining up with one thing. So if that thing called time is is this invention that we use to help instill order within the day, then why do we accept the creation of time, but we're opposed to the religion, let's say, certain religions. Or why are some people, you see these well-to-do figures and they're talking about things being delusional, and I understand what they're saying, what they're getting at, but at the same time, no pun intended, it just seems a little strange that somebody says, well, what's the purpose of the religious practice? It's this thing somebody made up to control people's minds. But isn't that what time, the conspiracy theorists talk about things being made up and it's there to control your mind? And I don't get into conspiracy theories because that seems like a waste of, in my opinion, of my time here on planet Earth. I don't want to live in fear of something. It's like it just seems like fear mongering. So if you can prove there's a lot of good that comes from religion, helping the homeless, helping the elderly, helping the needy, helping widowed family members, single mothers, single fathers, helping children, grants for education, hospitals, all the stuff that religion does, that doesn't seem too delusional. I understand when people attack the elements of things that are very, what do you want to say? People taking stuff literally. For me, I was raised in a non-denominational Christian home, so if I viewed my view on Christ now, though, is he was more of a Buddhic philosophical mind, and that's his main purpose was to spread the golden rule, to treat others, as you want to be treated, and that's good enough, and to learn from your mistakes, and to be humble. To me, that's what I take from that faith, that religion. Did he walk on water? Well, I think that's a metaphor for trust. If you're in the boat with some guy and you call that guy your friend, and you get thrown overboard, you have to trust your friends. Let's say that's, you get kicked out of your house, you can't pay your mortgage or something, and somebody's coming to take your life away, essentially, is how you feel about it. You're going to have to trust people in your life, your friend, your guy in the boat that's still in the boat, to come and help you. Either he's going to walk on water, he's going to help you kind of go through the rough waters of life and do what friends do. So I take that as more of a metaphor. And if you think of ancient minds, they'd probably have to speak in metaphor more. Now we have advancements in language, cognition, understanding, just based on evolution and just the things that we have that help us evolve as a species. So I'm not insulting anybody in the past. When I say evolution, I can't, I'm not supporting any belief either way. I'm not an atheist or a theist. If I see some very good evidence for something on a personal level, I'll believe it. But again, sometimes you sit there and you subscribe to one side, is what it feels like. And then your life takes this algorithmic view towards one viewpoint rather than keeping an open mind. And that's what I'm trying to avoid, is the algorithm of life kind of like taking you down one path. Oh, you went to church once, now you need a Bible, now you need a crucifix to wear, now you need a shirt that says John 3:16, or I'm not insulting that. Oh, you went to a thing on evolution, now you need Darwin's on the origin of the species, and you need to know about Galapagos finch beaks and all these things. And so it's just like you really have to be careful, because then you start realizing you're choosing like one thing rather than being a free thinker, being open-minded. That's just how I view it, though. So if this religious thing is people call that delusion, then are we going to start calling time delusion? It's pretty straightforward. You could prove a lot of what let's say certain people of faith do correct to a certain extent. It's no different than a child going in. I'm not equating it with a child. Forgive me if that's how I come across. But a child goes into a movie and then is inspired by the movie to go be a better person. The child goes in and sees the archetype in some Disney movie. That's what Disney movies are. A lot of that's based on. You have divine feminine archetypes, which were very much a thing in the past. Now we see those things as Wonder Woman, or Elsa, or Belle in Beauty and the Beast, or some Little Mermaid, Ariel. You have hero archetypes, dying, rising god archetypes, Cyrus and Christ. You have Hercules, the hero archetype. All these different archetypes, but if you look at Disney movies, you can find all those archetypes, and that's a very fascinating thing. So it's like we see a kid go into a movie, and how do they act when they come out of that movie? Wow, excited! Don't you remember doing that when you were little? You'd be so excited. You'd feel like you're on a drug. You just saw a new movie. It's amazing. It feels great. That's what some people get from going into a church, or going into a Buddhist temple or Hindu temple, or going to their coven meeting, or whatever they're into. That wow feeling. It's like it's a good feeling, because they're participating in something, which is giving them something back. Which, when they integrate it, they feel like it gives them something to to live for, to work towards. They have this archetypal experience which keeps them going and motivated, and understanding things about themselves. So that's kind of what religion. This guy Jonathan Sacks was saying with religion. It was actually one of the cornerstones. He has a book called Morality. I think he's deceased now, but it's a really good book. And forgive me if he's not deceased. But it's called Morality by Jonathan Sacks, and it's about how we wouldn't be moral in the way that we probably would be moral nowadays, and ethical, but religion put a huge booster on that, because it gave people archetypes to judge themselves against. Christ, or Mary, or Sophia, or whatever the archetypes were. Whatever their tradition, if it was monotheistic, polytheistic, it's irrelevant. There was archetypes in those things to kind of measure your worth with, to see if you were woman enough as, were you wise enough as Athena or Minerva, well-read enough as Athena or Minerva, were you, good to your good Samaritan, to those around you, like Christ. So see how that works? It gives you something to measure yourself with, when you're kind of like living in a society where you feel like you're just surrounded by regular people. And that's the power of kind of how archetypal things work. It gives you that thing to measure, the measure of a person, the measure of a human, the measure of a man, the measure of a woman, they say. It gives you that thing to kind of measure yourself with. That's why some of the stories are so built up and so, it's exuberant, kind of, just so full of life and, power and wisdom and all these different things that we see, in temperance and grace and mercy. And just all these things that we see within the archetypal figures. So anyway, it's just an idea. It just seems strange. Time's made up and it plays a role. We don't really hear too many people bashing time. Time kills a lot of people. We hear people bashing religion, and it just seems kind of like, couldn't you find something better to do with your time than, bash someone's faith? Maybe you could raise the understanding of that thing if you read a lot about it, rather than just focusing on several, the negative facets of things, which, get blown out of proportion, sensationalized with headlines, by the news or whomever, because, it's this type of the sensationalized stuff that sells. Anyway, it's just a thought, just an idea, but, and that's how I see it, that, even if religion is made up, which I couldn't tell you if it is or not, I'm not trying to go down that road, but even if it was, it still plays a valuable role like time does, or like some of those things in pop culture, how they kind of give us that thing, maybe not the depth that religion does, but they still give you that kind of thing to kind of, bounce ideas off of, if that makes sense. So anyway, it's just a thought.